Boys, today, because of the lack of wanting to fight from these ranked top 15 level fighters in each division, let's be realistic. We have 15 ranked fighters in each division, which is 8 divisions total. We're talking about that men's division, which is a crisp 120 fighters. However, with those 120 fighters, you would expect our pay-per-views, some of our fight nights, to have some of them on there. That being said, these motherfuckers don't want to fight, so I'm matching up every single ranked top 15 fighter in the UFC. I'm going to be making their next opponent because I got the best, the rarest matchmaking on YouTube. Let's start off with heavyweight. We also are going to include the champion. So, Tom Aspinall, who is his first title defense going to be in this heavyweight division? People are easily going to go, Ciryl Gane. No, I don't want to see that. I want to see Jailton Almeida. Now, is it as big of a fight as Ciryl Gane? No. Am I doing this because I am being petty towards Ciryl Gane for getting that robbery decision win over Volkov? Yes, and to be honest, he just doesn't deserve the title shot. With that being said, we have a few fights that are already booked. If they're booked, I'll let you know that it's booked. There might be some fights that are booked, but I don't give a fuck, and I'm just going to completely change the matchup. But that being said, Aspinall, Jailton Almeida, that's the fight for heavyweight right now. In the meantime, Ciryl Gane, he needs to fight one more time, and he needs to prove that he has the wrestling to fight someone like a Tom Aspinall. We're not just going to give this dude layup opponents. We need to give him fights where proves that he's ready for another title shot, because the last time we saw him in there, man got folded up in a round against John Jones. With that being said, Ciryl Gane, who do we give him? The guy that's been calling him out for a minute now, Curtis Blaydes. I think this is this shit gonna happen? No, but this is what I want. With that being said, most likely the realistic thing is gonna be Tom Aspinall, Ciryl Gane, but I want to see Ciryl Gane, Curtis Blaydes. Winner of this can get Tom Aspinall by the end of the year. Tom Aspinall, Jailton Almeida could be made anytime now, to be honest. It could be made for, next week's card, which we don't have one, but we could just make one for next week and we could have Tom Aspinall and Jailton Almeida ready for that fight. But with that being said, I had a hard time picking who to give Volkov. And I think we give him someone like kind of a reward for that robbery loss. We don't want to give him an up-and-coming guy. We don't want to give him someone like a Waldo Cortes Acosta. I think we just book him against the loser of Tom Aspinall and Jailton Almeida. Give Volkov that number one contender fight. If it's Jailton Almeida, give him that fight, then he's up there for a title shot. With that being said, not all of these fights need huge reasoning behind it. Just like this next one, Sergey Pavlovich, Waldo Cortes Acosta. This fight's already booked. I don't see a reason why we need to change the booking of this one. This is a good matchup. Do I think it's a little bit too much for Costa? Probably. But moving down, Sergey Spivak. Who do we give Sergey Spivak? Give him the blob Shamil Gaziev. This would be a fun fight, and it's a fight we see is Shamil Gaziev ready to get in there with it's crazy how, Sergey Spivak, Marcin Tybura is the upper echelon of heavyweight. But we're going to see if Shamil is ready for it. But moving down, Derek Lewis, Taliesin Teixeira, the next card that we have here next week. It's already booked. I don't see why we need to change it up. With that being said, Marcin Tybura. Who do we give Tybura? Again, I think we give him the winner of Derek Lewis versus Teixeira. I think it makes sense, and I think it's definitely a fresh matchup, especially if Derek Lewis wins. I don't think Lewis has fought Tybura yet. I could be wrong. He could have, but I don't think so. That being said, we got 2 more guys left. Tai Tuivasa. Who do we give Tai Tuivasa? I want to see him versus Martin Bidet. Just 2 fat heavyweights out there swinging. Tai Tuivasa will probably find a way to lose. With that being said, Rizvan Kuniev just entered into the rankings. Give him McParkin. And now that we got heavyweight out of the way with the weakest division in the UFC, let's move down to the second weakest, light heavyweight. Championship fight, Ankalaev versus Pereira 2. And honestly, it just makes sense to run this one right back. Then, all these are going to be fresh matchups except for the one that's already booked, Johnny Walker, Zhang Mingyang. Fuck it. I don't care. If Johnny Walker wants to be a retard and keep fighting at light heavyweight and not want to bulk up, I don't care. Give him Mingyang and get slept out again. Moving down, Yuri Prochazka. Let's give Yuri Carlos Alberg. Banger of a fight. Honestly, a lot of these fights are just nothing but hood classics like the next one. Khalil Roundtree, give that dude another former champion in Jan Blachowicz. And honestly, if Khalil gets it done here, give him the loser of Carlos Alberg, Yuri Prochazka as a number one contender. It's so easy that we can actually get, true number one contenders at light heavyweight if we just matchmake it properly. But moving down, Jamal Hill. It's no more, former title challengers, former champions for this dude. We're giving him an up-and-coming dude into the rankings who deserves a big name and a former champion. We're feeding this dude to Azamat Murzakanov next. I don't care. I think this is the next matchup. Jamal Hill on a three-fight losing streak. 2 by knockout, 3rd by domination, pretty much. Not necessarily domination, but Jamal Hill had not even an ounce of success in most of that fight. But moving down, another matchup we can make here where the winner, not the winner, but the certain winner can get a title eliminator, and that's gonna be Alexander Rakic taking on Dominic Reyes. If Dominic Reyes gets this win, you give him a number one contender fight, and he's up there for another title shot. The hood would go crazy for this. The favelas would be crying if Dominic Reyes got another title shot, especially in 2025, 2026. But moving down, Volkan Oezdemir. Who does this dude fight? Bogdan Gustov. I think that makes sense. And then Nikia Krylov coming off that loss over Dominic Reyes. Alonzo Menifield. I'm not going to lie, I didn't really try to matchmake these guys with people outside the rankings where you could totally have done that. I just kept it all in the rankings. But let's move down to the middleweight division. A fun division, but I'm not going to lie, pretty much all of these fights are already booked except for 2 of them. Dricus du Plessis, Chimaev already booked. It makes sense. It's the only fight for the championship that makes sense. Moving down, Nasruddin Maivov, Caio Brahalho. Makes sense and it's booked. That's a good fight. I like this one. Robert Whittaker, RDR. I like this one too. It's booked. Jared Cannonier, MVP staying at middleweight, I guess. So I like this one. It's booked. MVP won't be in welterweight because I think he's just sticking to middleweight for right now. Roman Dolidze, Anthony Hernandez, already made good. I like it. It's booked. Marvin Vettori, Brandon Allen, already booked. I like it. And then Paulo Costa, Roman Kopylov, booked. I like it. That being said, there's 4 dudes here, 2 matchups that just the only ones that make sense. Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya. I don't really need to say much about this one. It's especially if you look at the division, literally everyone else is booked. There's no other options. I want to see this on, put this on, the last fight card of the year. Why can't we have this on the last fight card of the year? That being said, even then, that's so far away. I would like this now. I would like this on the Holloway versus Dustin card. But moving down, Abus Magomedov, who do we give him? Joseph himself. Joe Pyfer. I think Joe Pyfer makes sense for this one. But let's get into welterweight. There is only one booked fight here, and that's going to be Wonderboy versus Gabriel Bonfim. But other than that, nothing but rare matchups here. But Jack Della Maddalena, it makes sense, is on Makhachev. Makhachev won't be at lightweight, so don't look for that matchup. He's stuck here at welterweight. After that, Bilal Muhammad. Who do we get, Bilal? I want to see that grudge match against Kamaru Usman. It makes sense. I want this one. Winner. It's not winner, but if Kamaru gets it done, title shot. But if Bilal gets it done, he might need another 10-fight win streak to get that crack of the belt again. But moving down, I think a fight that has been rumored, nothing official yet. Sean Brady versus Shavkat, true number one contender fight here. And then Leon Edwards. There's not that much, pickings for Leon Edwards. You're not going to give him, a Bilal Muhammad fight. He just fought Bilal. You're not going to give him that Usman fight. He already fought Usman 3 times now. Sean Brady just fought him. You're not giving him Shavkat. You're not giving him, like an Ian Gary, Buckley, Covington, Gilbert Burns. You're not giving him any of those guys. We're giving him Spider-Man himself, Michael Morales. And it's a good jump up and a good next level fight for Michael Morales to see if he's ready to hang in there with like a former champion. But moving down, Ian Gary, I think everyone knows the match to make at welterweight for Ian Gary. Buck versus Cuck is the only matchup that needs to happen. I want to see this next. Colby Covington, what's his name? Kevin Holland called out Colby Covington. Colby Covington is never accepting that fight. Let's not act like he is. The only fight Colby Covington is going to accept is a double retirement fight with Gilbert Burns. We saw what he looked like, Gilbert, against Michael Morales. It was heartbreaking to see, especially if you saw the lead up to that. This dude was shredded. He was talking about, look how good of shape I'm in. I got these abs. I feel like a champion. just to go out there and get folded by Morales. It was heartbreaking to see. There's been a lot of heartbreaking moments this year. You know, the Gilbert Burns just recently with the boy Du Bronx. But yeah, double retirement fight in this welterweight division. Moving down, Jeff Neal. I've been saying this for a little bit now. I want the two heaviest hitters in welterweight, Jeff Neal versus Carlos Pradas, to face off. Then Kevin Holland. What do we do with Kevin Holland? I know he wants to be active. He's probably going to take someone outside the rankings here, but give him the loser of Ian Gary versus Joaquin Buckley. I think this is a fun matchup. If Joaquin Buckley loses, it's a perfect segue into this fight because it's a rematch. If Ian Gary loses, I don't know if he takes the Ian Gary fight. You know, I don't know if Ian Gary takes a Kevin Holland fight, especially because Kevin Holland will be so much lower in the rankings, but maybe, I don't know. But let's move down to lightweight now. Again, Makhachev won't be here, but we got Ilia Topuria. Now, I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with this, but after we got the face-off, after we got pretty much nothing but these people talking about Paddy Pimblett, it's going to be Ilia versus Paddy. It's the biggest fight you can make. It's a fight that'll make the most money in this division. And to be honest, if the UFC is smart and has a single brain cell, they will do main event Jack Della Maddalena, Islam Makhachev, and then on that co-main event, Ilia Topuria, Paddy Pimblett. And you know, if the stars align, we can get the Ilia Topuria, Makhachev face off inside the octagon. We can build up that fight. We can get some promotion started, and it just makes sense. If the UFC has an ounce of IQ left, they will make that fight next. Moving down, I've heard that there's been some rumors that Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett are fighting. Not with me matchmaking these ones. That shit ain't happening because Paddy is getting that Dana White treatment and he's getting up there right away for that title shot. In the meantime, there are two little princesses crying over how they deserve the next title shot. One of them threatening to retire, and Dana already said, when you're talking about retirement, you should just retire. We're giving Justin Gaethje his retirement fight against Arman. Arman's getting that #1 contender. Arman getting that title shot shortly after. And, you know, if the UFC really want to do this, they could, I don't know. I was going to say something so stupid. I was going to say they could do Ilia versus Paddy, build up Ilia versus Makhachev, and during that whole time, they can do Arman versus Gaethje as a interim belt. But that should, I thought about it for a split second. Idiot. But moving down, we are gonna go through and just pretend Max Holloway already beat and retired the Diamond, and we're looking at his next matchup, Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway. I wanted this fight from the jump. You know, if we had a perfect timeline, it would have been Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, and Ilia Topuria versus Arman for that belt. But we got this instead. I had to witness my boy Du Bronx get flatlined. It is what it is. And after that, I think, depending on how he looks against Dustin, but I think I'm going to be favoriting Max Holloway to fight. Because I do think this fight is going to happen next regardless, to be honest. And I'm going to favor Max Holloway pretty heavily. I don't think Du Bronx is going to be the same after that. Let's be realistic. That was a nasty, vicious, 7 years off your life type of knockout. And don't think he'll be the same. I think Max Holloway will finish Du Bronx. But moving down, what the fuck do we do with Dan Hooker? Dan Hooker, I'm sorry. Your ass is going to have to wait out for a little bit. But here you go. You're going to get a #1 contender match with Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway. Another just heater. Again, whoever wins that fight versus Dan Hooker, heater of a matchup. Moving down, Mateusz Gamrot. What are we doing with Gamrot? I think we do Benoit Saint-Denis. They called each other out. Benoit called him out. Gamrot called him out on Twitter. Run this one next. Beneil Dariush. Originally, I had Beneil versus Fiziev. Spoiler alert, Fiziev is moving down to featherweight. So instead of that, let's do two of the most boring fighters in this division. Beneil Dariush, Grant Dawson. A fight that, you know, who cares who wins. But moving down, Money Moicano. I made this one in my matchmaking video. Michael Chandler. If you think about it, it actually makes sense to have this one next. A big money fight and just a big fight you can put on a card. I think it makes sense. I like this one. Let's go down. Joel Alvarez. Again, unfortunately, I was originally going to match up Dan Hooker, Joel Alvarez. It's just too far in the rankings and it doesn't really make that much sense. But Joel Alvarez, you're going to have to wait out a little bit too because your ass is fighting the winner of Beneil Dariush versus Grant Dawson. Just tell me that this isn't something the UFC would do. they would get two of these boring fighters to fight each other and, you know, get some hype to their name and feed them to an up-and-coming dude who has crazy finishing ability. Definitely a vet move by the UFC and something I'm going to be employing into my matchmaking. But let's keep moving down. Featherweight division. Again, we have some new people entering this division. You'll see later on. And we only have one officially booked fight. But, you know, the GOAT himself, Volkanovski, who is he going to be fighting? If I'm matchmaking, I'm giving him Movsar Evloev. And spoiler alert, I'm just thinking of this right now as making this video. I forgot about Pico. I'm not gonna lie. He isn't in this video, but he can have someone later down the line. But Movsar Evloev, Alexander Volkanovski, literally the only title fight in this division that makes sense. Book this one now. Moving down, I changed the matchmaking on these ones because I just didn't like it. Diego Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez is the match to make. I understand why they put Gene Silva there, but are we just gonna forget the whole press conference moment between these two? I don't think so. At least not on my watch. These two are getting matched up. We're having Coulon Part 2 during media day. I want this fight. I don't understand why this wasn't the main event. Probably because Yair Rodriguez is being a little bitch about it. And I said it on Twitter. Someone needs to find me a new slur to call Yair Rodriguez because this is just ridiculous at this point. But moving down, Arnold Allen. Unfortunately, Arnold, you're getting Gene Silva. And I think this would be a fun matchup, a good stand-up war. I think Arnold Allen is getting put down. It is what it is. It sucks to say, you know, Arnold Allen is a pretty fun fighter. You know, he's honestly a pretty neutral dude. I don't think he has haters or that many like huge diehard fans, but pretty neutral dude. Fortunately, you're getting fed to Gene Silva. Moving down, the only fight that is booked in this division, Brian Ortega, Aljamain Sterling. Finally, we're getting this matchup. This should have been on UFC 300 instead of Aljamain versus, who was it? Was it Cater? I think it was. Yeah, this should have been on 300, but we're going to get it. What is this going to be? Probably like 18, 20 pay-per-views later. It is what it is. Lerone Murphy, I don't have a matchup for you just yet. Your ass is going to have to just hold out for a little bit because you're getting the loser of Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling. You're either going to get, you know, a former defending champion at Bantamweight, or you're going to get a former title contender, but you're going to have to wait out. Moving down, Josh Emmett. He is introducing someone into this division, which is going to be Fiziev. Fiziev's first fight should be against Josh Emmett. I think this would be a war. This would be a crazy fight. I want this one next. And this is just a good test for Fiziev. See how he looked at featherweight. And, you know, give him this one fight. If he doesn't like how it feels at featherweight, if he doesn't like the weight cut, if he doesn't like the size, he can go back up to lightweight. But move this one next. Then, Yusuf Zalal. Unfortunately, I didn't really have anyone else for these two, so you're getting David Onama. Yeah, you guys are training partners, but suck it up. You're going to have to fight each other. Yeah, I just didn't have anyone to matchmake these dudes. But moving down, Dan Ige versus Pitbull. This fight's already made, so I like this one. It's booked. Keep it how it is. Then Calvin Kattar. Your ass is on a fucking 3-4 fight losing streak at this point. You're going to be giving someone a chance to get into the rankings. I think one of the only fights I have here with someone outside the rankings. You're getting Costa. I guess you could put Pico in here, but it just doesn't really make that much sense. I guess you could do Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico, actually, now that I look at it. Fuck it, do that one instead. But yeah, Calvin Kattar, Costa. Let's get down to Bantamweight now. Bantamweight, Merab, Corey Sandhagen. Again, the only real fight at Bantamweight that really makes sense at this point. You know, unfortunately, we kind of have a logjam right now, but it makes sense. Then, Sean O'Malley. I know a lot of people aren't going to like this take, but I want to see Sean O'Malley versus Henry Cejudo. And it's such a vet move by the UFC. You know they're probably going to make this one next just because it's one of the least riskiest fights you can make for Sean O'Malley right now, where you could almost guarantee a highlight reel finish for Sean O'Malley. Cejudo getting up there in age, hasn't won a fight since he's came back from retirement. And again, former champion, one of these, you know, Hall of Famers. People have him in, not the GOAT conversation, you know, in the GOAT conversations, you know, number 2, 3, 4 type of deal. But yeah, Sean O'Malley, Henry Cejudo, mark that one next. Then we're redoing the whole matchmaking with Peter Yan, because Peter Yan versus McGee, I don't give two shits about. I want Peter Yan versus Umar Nurmagomedov. It's such a no-brainer, but yeah, I want this one next. If Peter Yan gets the win, he can get his rematch versus Merab. And fuck it, if Umar gets it over Peter, he can get his rematch. But moving down, Song Yadong. Song Yadong is going to be welcoming a former flyweight into bantamweight. That's going to be Brandon Royval. Royval was teasing that, if he loses or he doesn't get a title shot, he's going to move up in weight. I personally don't like bantamweight for him, but I want to see what he looks like in bantamweight. So let's give him Song Yadong. Crazy battle. Again, a fight where I could see it being a fight of the year type of contender, like what he had with Joshua Van. But moving down, Davison Figueiredo. He's on a losing streak. I think we just give him Mario Batista. Batista coming off a pretty good win streak here against Aldo and against Patchy Mix. But yeah, this one, Mario just deserves a jump up into the rankings. And again, against another name value dude and a former champion in Davison Figueiredo. Moving down, Cheeto Vera. What do we do with Cheeto? We rebook him with Ayman Zahabi. Unfortunately, Zahabi coming off the retirement win against Aldo. Unfortunately, there's just no one else in the division for him. But moving down, Rob Font. I want Rob Font versus Marcus McGee. It was stupid to give Marcus McGee such a huge jump up in Peter Yan. Give him Rob Font instead. And then Kyler Phillips. You're going to have to fight Montel Jackson. And with Vincent Oliveira, he will fight the loser of Marlon Vera versus Zahabi, which is probably going to be Cheeto Vera. And honestly, that's a crazy ass fight, I'm not gonna lie. But let's finish this video off now, because this is a long ass video. Flyweight division, there is 3 fights that are already booked, and we are gonna be welcoming someone into flyweight. But with that being said, title picture, do I need to do this one? Is of course gonna be Pantoja versus Joshua Van. Only one that makes sense, the only title shot right now that makes sense. With that being said, Brandon Moreno. There's really it's so hard to justify this dude with another title shot. So you're going to have to fight an undefeated fighter who has a decent amount of hype to him. Someone who a lot of people are saying, former champion. He's a guy to beat Pantoja. You're going to have to fight him, and you're going to have to take his O, and then you can maybe get a title shot. That guy is going to be Muhammad Mokaev. We're bringing Mokaev back. I don't get why the UFC had a hissy fit over him. He's one of the best flyweights in the world. He needs to be in the UFC. Put him in here. Moving down, a fight that's already booked. It makes sense. It's a good fight. Amir Albazi, Tatsuro Taira. I have no problem with it. The only problem I have is this shit being the main event of an Apex Fight Night card. Fuck that. I don't want to see that as a main event, but I don't mind it as a fight. With that being said, Kai Kara France. Originally, I had this dude match up with Razim Tamirov. I don't want that fight anymore. I want the bad blood fight. I want the rubber fight. I want Kai Kara France Manel Cap next. We already know, they have a shit ton of beef with each other. I want this fight next. And I've had a lot of fights so far that had bad blood in it. You can literally just theme an entire fight night card or pay-per-view around it. I don't get why the UFC is so brain dead sometimes, but I want to see this one next. Moving down, old man Alex Perez. Unfortunately, brother, you're going to have to take on an up-and-coming guy in Tagir Lewinbekov. A little bit of a win streak here, Tagir. Fuck it, run this one next. Another one that's already booked, Azum Alambayev, Ramazan Tamirov. Makes sense, it's already booked. I like it. Moving down, Steve Ercik. Originally, I think Steve Ercik and Alex Perez was matched up. I don't care to see that, to be honest. And honestly, both those guys should be fighting below in the rankings, giving other guys chances to get up there. So Steve Ercik, you're fighting Bruno Silva, unfortunately. With that being said, the last fight that's already booked, Tim Elliott, Kai Asakura. Makes sense. Nothing to change around here. I like it. With that being said, let me know in the comments below, would you guys match up any of these fighters that I've already matched up a little bit different? Again, 120 dudes here, and yet we can't get them on a regular basis. The UFC needs to figure their shit out, because this is just embarrassing at this point. Hire your boy. This was easy. I made this shit in. The hardest part, honestly, was copy and pasting their names from the rankings. And as of recording this, the rankings have kind of changed, but I don't think anyone new has entered into the rankings. I'm just going to quickly check. It looks like, no, I think everyone's around the same. Yeah, I don't think anyone has dropped out of the rankings, so that's good. With that being said, actually, I lied. I didn't refresh the page because I'm a retard, but Giga in Featherweight entered into the rankings. Don't give a fuck. Giga can go fuck himself. And then that's about it. Just Giga entered, and I don't care. And it looks like the boy Topuria is pound for pound #1. So yeah, let me know in the comments, would you match these guys up a little bit differently? And tomorrow I plan on, creating every pay-per-view left in 2025. So best believe some of the matches I just listed out here is going to be in those cards. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching to the end of the video, and I will see you guys in my next video.